Today I'm going to be talking about the Gentle Awesome's second studio record, New Miserable Experience. This 1992 release gave the band two of their biggest hits, Found Out About You and Hey Jealousy. The album continued their sound of alternative rock and folk rock. Using the correct instruments and gear is very important for the correct sound. After going through concert footage and combing through images, I've discovered a good approximation of what they use. For the correct sound, guitars should be Stratocasters or Telecasters, and Marshall amps should be used with the 4x10 cabinet. Tube screamers are also used for distortion. The bass guitar is the Fender Jazz or P-style bass, plugged into an Ampeg amp and cabinet. The drums are a Tama brand drum set. The drummer is often accompanied with additional tambourine or percussion. Additional instruments such as accordions and pedal steel can be heard on the album, however this is optional and not necessary for their sound. While these photos are more recent than 1992, the gear is relatively unchanged from back in the day. My gear includes a Fender Super Strat with Seymour Duncan pickups, a Zoom G3X multi-effects pedal, and I'm using Cubase as my DAW. I used a Marshall amp and tube screamer emulator to record the song and received surprising results. For the bass guitar, I used a VST instrument and I ran the bass through a simulated amp. The drum VST I used was MT Power Drum Kit. This plugin offers very realistic drum sounds with plenty of grooves pre-installed. To make the drum set sound thicker and more full, I added compression to the snare and kick drum. For the tambourine, I used samples from YouTube. These samples were cut and glued to avoid them sounding too repetitive. And for the organ, I used another VST instrument. However, the organ I used was very basic and didn't offer much in shaping the sound. I didn't mind it because it was going to be very quiet in the mix. I produced this song by first creating an outline of what I wanted. Songs on the album have a very basic rock structure, such as intro, alternating verses and choruses, and a guitar solo. The sound of the album is very raw and does not have the clean polish of other albums from the time. The song is based around the beginning guitar riff, and this drives the song forward. As a result, I began the song with an intro guitar riff that repeats twice before the first verse. For the verse, I decided to drop out the main guitar and add background guitars that are quieter in the mix. The chords I used for the verse are the same ones used to support the intro riff. After the two verses, we come to the chorus before returning to the intro. I decided to use different chords in the chorus to give contrast to the song. In addition to that, a polymuted distortion guitar was added for greater contrast to the verses. The bass guitar was used to back up the other instruments, especially the electric guitars. For the verses in the guitar riff, I used a syncopated 8th note rhythm. For the choruses, I used a straight 8th note rhythm. Occasionally, I added passing notes to the bass to keep it interesting. For the drums, I used grooves from the MT Power Drum Kit VST. I decided to use simple hi-hat rhythms for the song, as anything too complex will not have the right feel. Every 4 measures, I would add a mini drum fill with larger ones between sections to keep the movement going. Now that the song is recorded, how about we hear how it sounds? If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, hitting the thumbs up, and hitting the notification icon for more content.